This week, in the enterprise news segment, IBM announces RSA Conference withdrawal, Dell offloads RSA, the security company, 12 hottest new cybersecurity startups at RSA 2020, tons of funding news, and more. In our second segment, Redline provides an overview of their CTF at InfoSec World 2020. And in our third segment, we interview Ben Budge and Lyle Beck from Lighthouse to discuss how to evaluate network inspection vendors. So stay tuned for all of that and more on this episode of Enterprise Security Weekly.
This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where we talk security vendors and aren't afraid to name names. It's Enterprise Security Weekly. The Viavi Solutions Observer Platform provides SecOps teams a powerful combination of comprehensive data for threat hunting and incident response that includes wire data analytics and enriched flow records. Using pure, unaltered packet and net flow, Observer presents views across the entire IT infrastructure with threat alert features including scope, impact, and advanced traffic profiling. Teams can use automated workflows to dive into high-fidelity network evidence and more quickly resolve issues, minimizing impact on customers, users, and business operations. Learn more about the Viavi Network Security Solution and download free resources at securityweekly.com/Viavi. That's VIAVI. The question is simple. Have any of the systems on my network been compromised? The answer is harder than it should be. Enter AI Hunter. Active Countermeasures has automated and streamlined techniques used by the best pen testers and threat hunters in the industry to create AI Hunter, a network threat hunting solution that does the first pass of a hunt for you to identify systems that are most likely to be compromised and scores the results on a scale from 0 to 100. You can then research those systems in depth with AI Hunter. Focus your valuable time on the systems that need your expertise with AI Hunter. Sign up for a personal demo today at securityweekly.com/ACM.
Welcome to episode number 173 of Enterprise Security Weekly for February 19th, 2020. I am your host, Matt Alderman, sitting in for Paul Asadorian. He's off this week. Kids are on vacation. And joining me, my co-hosts for today are Scott Lyons and Josh Marpet. Welcome, gentlemen.
Pleasure. How you doing?
I'm in my red to celebrate the Red Lion guys sitting in this week. Paul's out, John's out, so thanks for holding down the fort with me.
Not a problem. Anytime.
Not a problem. You know, we have a lot of fun over on the Security and Compliance Weekly, so we figured we'd come in and help you with this.
Yeah, this one we've got some good news stories, so we'll have some fun. All right, everybody, it's time to attend RSA Conference 2020. It's next week, February 24th to 28th in San Francisco. You can visit securityweekly.com/RSAC 2020 to sponsor an interview with us on site at the conference, or you can still register using our discount code to save $150. Paul and I will be in Broadcast Alley all week, so come over, say hi, and check us out. All right, gentlemen, it was interesting. I'm going through the news stories. There's a lot of RSA-related news stories, but not the way I expected. Right? Normally, the week before RSA, you start to get a preview of some of the announcements that are going to come out. Right? A lot of people will drop news stories on Monday as part of RSA. And what I've seen over the past few years is that vendors would start to do some announcements this week. Right? It's Wednesday. But some of the stories that came out were pretty interesting, like IBM is not attending RSA conference because they're worried about the coronavirus.
Well, I mean, it's understandable that they want to be careful with their people, with the attendees, with everybody. It's like, you know, how would you cripple the computer security industry of the world is, you know, bomb DEF CON type of thing. And if you get everybody sick at RSA, it's going to be a problem for a while. So I get it, but that might be a little premature.
I think so. And, you know, I think there have been a couple sponsors that dropped out. But look, you're not going to cancel the largest security conference in the world. It's just not going to happen. it's not.
We're all going. The largest?
Yeah.
How
pure cybersecurity. It'll be close to 50,000 attendees this year.
Okay. I guess, I mean, how big is Black Hat now?
20-ish. maybe
thought it was
more,
closer to
maybe
30.
30. Yeah, probably
I thought it
closer
was
to
closer
30
to
now.
30, but I get it. I mean, as the largest security vendor fest in the world, I mean, and let's be honest, RSA is mostly vendors and new product launches and things like that. And you mentioned that already. It's got a lot of attraction. This is where you can find, I've heard a lot of people talk about how RSA, I go to RSA because that's when I can get to everybody in a quick round of meetings and meet with everybody I need to meet for the entire year. And it's not a bad point. Everybody goes.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, it has been a big biz dev event. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I was going to say, according to RSA's website, dated 14 February, including those from IBM who have canceled their registration, is approximately 0.79% of the total number of expected attendees, right? So IBM pulled out, a couple other companies pulled out, but it's only resulting in a very minimal impact.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. IBM had a big booth, I'm sure. I mean, they always do, right? Now that booth space is going to be empty. So if, Security Weekly is smart, I'm just saying there's empty space and stuff expands to fill empty space. Isn't that the theory of stuff? So,
yeah, but we already have our spot at Broadcast Alley. I don't need to be on the main show floor. That's just too crazy.
Oh, come on.
Nobody would find us over there.
People.
Yeah,
it's not like it's like security vendor Thunderdome. I mean,
now
200, 200 to 700 vendors enter, only one leaves.
Yeah, true. Sometimes that happens. You never know. The other story that was interesting is Dell has decided to sell RSA, the security company, which also includes the conference, by the way. But in this article, I thought it was interesting. There are multiple articles. And look, I think this has been in the works for a while. The article talks about VMware's acquisition of Carbon Black, which kind of locked out the tighter integration between VMware and RSA Security. And I know this for a fact because I was at RSA Security trying to have those conversations with VMware back in the 12, 13, 14 area, right? There just wasn't a lot of interest in taking products that RSA had and really integrate them into the VMware suite. VMware goes out and buy Carbon Black. I know there was interest in selling the Archer business line for a while because I was doing a lot of advisory calls. So finally, Dell decides, look, we're going to sell the whole thing. But what's interesting is the price tag was $2.08 billion, which is roughly what EMC paid for RSA, the company, 13 years ago, back in 2006. When it was. Yeah,
if you think valuations, let's just round it to 2 billion, because after all, what's a few million between friends? But let's just round, or 80 million in this case. Let's just round it to $2 billion. If you think that it's RSA is effectively a product company, right? I mean, they're not big in services. They have some, but not monstrous amounts. So if they're a product company, their multiplier should be 8 to 12. Let's call it 10 for round numbers. So what they're saying is, presumably their annual running revenue is $200 million. Did I get my math right, or did I miss the decimal?
Yeah, but it's not. See, that's the point. See, that's where the valuation is flagged in this article, saying, look, you're telling me they haven't increased in valuation over the last 13 years? Of course they have. They bought NetWitness, they bought Archer, they bought what was the IAG company, the Identity Access and Governance product? I can't remember, Avecta or something like that. So they've made purchases. They've grown the portfolio. My guess is revenue-wise, that's $1 billion company, but yet they're only getting a $2 billion valuation on the spin-out?
Something's wrong with that.
That's what I know. And that's what this article flagged, which I thought was interesting. That's why I pulled on this article versus some of the other ones on the announcement.
Something's wrong with that, like significantly wrong. What I'm wondering is, would they got RSA because of EMC, and EMC picked it up for, was it roughly the same price or exactly the same price 13 years ago?
Roughly the same price. I think they said it was right around a $2 billion acquisition.
Yeah,
back in 2006. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, since then, since that acquisition, when was the RSA hack? When the entire database of
2012 or 2011, late 2011 or early 2012. I went over in February of 12, and I went over right after the breach.
So that breach dropped RSA Secure ID's value by a metric crud ton, to use the technical term, and RSA as a whole had a massive reputational damage because of it, in my opinion. So
Then
I'm
acquired
wondering.
NetWitness and made a lot of progress on that front to resolve some of that. Yeah.
Archer, I mean, Archer is just, oh my God, expensive. Anybody running it is paying through the nose for running it, maintenance and so on and so forth. Secure ID, while it had that problem, reputational problem, a lot of people still use it. And the RSA conference, I mean, you said it yourself, it's the biggest security conference in the world, 50,000 people. I have to imagine they make a few bucks at it,
Right.
So,
but let's look at the underlying issues here, right? It's a conference, right? The conference is always thrown in the same location, at the same venue, right? Same time of year, right? What have they really done to increase their reach, right? Could Dell be doing this for PR, right? Or could they really be truly offloading something?
I think
like I said, there were certain components I thought made sense in the Dell portfolio from a security perspective, and especially when you still had relationships with VMware and other places. VMware, like I said, kind of went on its own path and decided to do some things that didn't align back to what RSA had in the portfolio. I think Dell's probably looked at the entire portfolio and said, man, maybe we don't want to be in the security business anymore, and decided to spin it off.
I got a question for you, Matt. You know better than I do. How integrated are all the RSA business units? Are they like fully autonomous units? Like I can divest one in a heartbeat, very minor administrative hurdles, or is it so hard to untangle the spaghetti that it would be not worth it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I try to do a lot of integration between the Archer side of the business and the NetWitness side of the business to really bring some of the workflow capabilities that Archer had with, a lot of the technical capabilities that NetWitness had. I never accomplished that vision. It's one of the reasons I left and went over to Tenable. I could not make enough progress there and felt I could do more over at Tenable when I left there in 2014. The identity business is pretty much separate. The fraud and the identity business are kind of more integrated and linked together. The entire NetWitness portfolio has been fully integrated together with the old log product and some of the other things that they've acquired over the years. So you could, in theory, piece and part it out. And there was rumors at one time that they were looking to divest just the Archer business unit there for a while. I don't think they ever got the price tag they wanted, which is maybe why they decided to sell the whole thing.
Well, you're talking about having to go through administrative hell to untangle the pieces and parts. It's possible, like you said, but is it worth the time, the effort, and the focus? In these days where hardware margins are razor thin, and that's Dell's bread and butter, in these days where services and products are making the money, but which services, which products, it's maybe it was Dell went, it's not worth it. Can we just get rid of this? We're paying too much attention to this crud. And that's why they sold it for that amount. Like, look, at least it's revenue neutral. We've gained some clients over the years having it. Now let's get out of here.
Maybe. Speaking of products, the 12 hottest security products, RSA 2020, was revealed in this next article. Any in here that I know a couple of these companies because I keep track of some of these early stage startups. Any that piqued your interest, gentlemen?
Number 9, LUMU. I don't even know if I want to butcher that.
It's called Lumu.
Continuous compromise assessment. So, according to the article, Lumu aims to help organizations identify potential compromises on their network, and this is done through multiple sources, including DNS queries, NetFlows, proxies, firewalls, and spam box filters. Right. And then they add threat intelligence on top of all of that. Right. So essentially what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, well, we're going to take a look at not just your north-south traffic, right, workstation to server, but your east-west, and then add threat intelligence and all of the other pieces where a potential compromise comes together. It'll be really interesting to see if these guys take off, to be completely honest with you, because what they're trying to do from just this little blurb, it looks like they're trying to solve a lot of the security problems that companies are seeing or are not able to put time, budget, money, resources towards.
Interesting. Good point. I just went through this list and I thought of it just hit me across the head. Most of these are not products as we're used to thinking of them.
Okay.
That didn't make sense. They're not point solutions to solve. They're not IDSs. They're not They're not an appliance. They're not a box.
So what you're
They're not a
saying is
point-
there's a shift that we're seeing, right?
I think it's an interesting. I mean, obviously, we're seeing a shift to SaaS, and we've been seeing that shift forever. Okay, got it. Trust me, got it. We're seeing a shift to business models that are subscription based. Got it. But what we're seeing is things that are, rather than here's your box or SaaS platform to do your IDS, IPS, firewall, whatever. This is more about an integrative set of products. They are products. I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. An integrative set of products that's going to take what you already have and wrap it in another layer. Instead of supplanting something else, instead of ripping out one IDS, rip and replace. We're all used to that. This is interesting. I mean, like Cycognito number 5, map your full attack surface by mapping its assets and attack surface on the internet. I'm really sorry. That sounds like a vulnerability scanner, but okay, whatever.
But it's not. See, that's where this article doesn't do it justice, right? We're actually interviewing the Cycognito guys on BSW at the show, I think. And,
cool.
and what they're doing is external scanning around your digital assets because it's a challenge. What assets are publicly facing? Not a lot of people know this. There's a few products in the space. They put some interesting spin on it. We're going to get into that discussion as part of the interview. But the trend I'm seeing here is you see suites and platforms, right? To your point.
Yes, that's
Josh,
it. That's the
right?
word. Thank you.
It's not a product, like a single product. It's a suite or a set of capabilities being brought together. And that's what you're seeing here across a lot of these announcements. You're seeing application security suites, the platforms for Cycognito bringing in a lot of digital assets and understanding your external digital risk footprint. Even the Soluble, which I know Richard Syverson really well. He was a customer at Qualys, and we lived 2 miles from each other in Colorado when he was here, right? They're building out a DevOps security platform really focused around Kubernetes security, right? But you see this theme of no one's building a single product anymore. They're bringing these platforms or a suite of solutions to the table.
Enhancements, whatever. Yeah, exactly. They're bringing enhancements to what they're expecting you to use Kubernetes. They're expecting you to use Docker. They're expecting you to do this, and we can make it better by. We're building plugins, not products.
You know,
I don't mean to denigrate them. They're good stuff, but they're additional pieces, if that makes sense. Puzzle pieces, jigsaw pieces. Rather than here's a puzzle.
Right. A good friend of mine put me over to Simonson X TED Talk on the why, the how, and the what.
The golden circle,
things.
Of course.
Right. A lot of this hits right in the sweet spot of the what, not the why. You know? And now I understand, that you only have, I understand that you only have so much that you can put about each one of these companies, right? But a lot of this tries to hit that what. You know?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the why. Why? What problem am I trying to solve? Yes.
This could have very much been better written.
Yeah, it could have.
But
I mean, it's interesting if you want to go check out what people perceive as some of the hot products. Like I said, I know a few of these because of the Cycognito interview that we're doing. I've known Richard and the Soluble team. Good friends over there. So, I know a few of these folks, and there's others, by the way. There's some other companies that are kind of coming out of the woodwork next week at RSA. So it'll be interesting to see what other announcements come out. We do have some product announcements. Sorry, Scott. ExtraHop announced a new suite of features really focused around IoT, IIoT, kind of other devices on the network, starting to profile them, understand kind of communications. This has been an interesting space. And you've got one of the leading kind of network traffic analysis tools now adding detections for a lot of these other devices. Sounds like a good set of features.
I think that I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
No. You go, Josh.
I think that a lot of these, I don't know. I think the biggest part is that what you said, it's hard to just get to the why. And I apologize. I'm reading them. I sort of zoned out for a second, but some of these are just, I'm sitting like, what the hell are they talking about? Anyway,
what do you mean? What do you mean? What are they talking about?
well, okay, so we're still talking about the 12 early stage startups, right? Okay, so
No. I moved to the ExtraHop announcement.
oh, I'm sorry. I heard product and I kept on going. ExtraHop, the ExtraHop article I read before, that one was very nice. Scott and I have a long history with ExtraHop.
Yes.
And we've been working with them we worked with them for years, actually. Helped build out an entire RMF implementation, the risk management framework for Govy stuff. And it's really impressively nice. The new features they're talking about are actually rather impressive. What's interesting is the continuous device discovery. I'm really curious. Everyone, I'm sure, is familiar with Rumble, which is HD Moore's product that he has out. And I'm really curious to pit them head to head, to be honest with you. I think that'll be hilarious.
Yeah. And with you saying that, understand that Rumble, holy cow. If you haven't seen this, go check it out. It is so well worth your time. It's such a great product.
HD kicked ass on that. It's unbelievably good. It's like if he
asset discovery on steroids.
Yeah, he didn't use just simple stuff. He's like, oh yeah, we have SNMP, but that's the littlest piece. He has everything, like everything you've ever seen Nmap, Metasploit, whatever do. It's in there to find assets and get you all kinds of information about it. So with that against ExtraHop, I'd love to see them work together. That would be very, very cool. Or put them in a bake-off, put them in a head-to-head, see which one comes out first.
Right, and to kernelize ExtraHop, for those of you who are listening or watching that don't know who ExtraHop is or what they do, ExtraHop has a product that allows you to view east to west traffic, right? So if you consider internal to external would be north to south, and then east to west is all of the other communication, like an internal machine talking to a server or servers talking to a server, right? ExtraHop allows you to see all of that traffic in one shot.
Yep. So and we're actually going to interview one of their customers in the third segment on this show. If you want to understand kind of the challenges that Lighthouse is facing and why they ended up choosing ExtraHop, stay tuned because we'll get to that later on this show. The other product announcement before we get to a bunch of funding announcements was Untangle announced NG Firewall 15. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Untangle. We briefed with them last year at RSA Conference. We actually brought them on, I'm pretty sure, to Enterprise Security Weekly, talk about their solution, kind of more meant for the small to medium business, maybe even the home market, where they brought a bunch of capabilities together to make it really easy to deploy. A few new features here around threat prevention and some kid search filtering, et cetera, et cetera. Interesting, but
do they still have a free version? I remember my uncle, who is very tech savvy, but shall we say based a few decades ago, was using Untangle and he loved it. So I don't know if there's still the home version that was free or something like that. Do they still do that? Do you know?
I think there is a free version, and then you can also buy their hardware appliances, and they have different levels of capabilities that you can bundle into those. But I think the free version's still around, I think.
Yeah, my uncle loved them. He said it was really simple. He had a couple of clients that he, old friends of his that he futzed around with. And he's like, I just put them in on older boxes and threw them in place, and all of a sudden they didn't get all the crap. I'm like, that's great. He goes, made my life easy. So kudos to them. They have some good stuff that's simple for people to use.
Yeah, how simple? Because that was actually going to be the question that I was going to ask to both you and Matt.
Dude.
How difficult is it to install this kind of like this, right? You see where it says next gen, right? We all know, hey, next gen buzzword, right? But when you're talking about the Untangle product, how difficult is it to install, right? Can you put it on legacy gear? Like, what are your thoughts?
It goes on x86 gear. I have no idea about ARM gear, but if it's x86, anything reasonably, capable, obviously Pentium, something or other, it'll go on. It can install as a VM. I don't know if it can install in Docker, but for smaller shops, they just take an older computer, run it as an ISO, drop it in place, boot from it, and it goes, okay, you put an extra NIC in me, great. So now I've got two NICs. Which one is the WAN link? Oh, that one, good. Which one is the LAN link? Oh, that one, good, done. That's all it takes. Seriously, that's it. I think there's a how paranoid do you want me to be filter as well. That's about it.
Right. In here on Untangle's website, They're claiming simplified management for your dispersed networks from a single pane of glass, zero-touch provisioning, and easy management of backups, audit logs, licensing, and renewals, which is really, really key, especially for SMBs and trying to hit compliance regimes, right? The audit log, backups, licensing, right? Trying to track down who's doing what. Go ahead.
I think that's on the appliance because that includes various other features that I don't think are on the free version. Right. I don't remember. Don't get me wrong. And Untangle, please feel free to let us know. We'd love to, if you want to come interview on the show. Have they interviewed on the show?
Yeah, they've been on this one. They were on last year. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'd love to see them again and come have them. Let's have them as sponsors. But I really like the product. Hey, I'm honest. We need sponsors to run the place. Let's get them. But we have good sponsors and good people. I think that their product for home use is probably one of the better ones for simplicity of installation. I don't know what features it comes bundled with for the home version. For the business, the small to medium business, to have one that's simple and just brain dead stupid to install and use, I cannot recommend more things like that. The cyber poverty line, as Wendy Nather puts it, brilliant term, is a tough thing to get through.
Yeah. So they have an appliance that runs on ESX, VMware ESX or ESXi, and they're also claiming that you can choose to run it inside of AWS or Azure as well. So there are cloud-capable versions of the Untangle product, which is really good.
Just helps all those SMBs. All right, now we've got a bunch of interesting funding announcements. The first one is really interesting to me. Forescout to be acquired by a pair of private equity firms for $1.9 billion. We've already talked about the RSA spin out, but Forescout's in my Security Weekly 25 index, and now they're going private, so I'm going to have to find a replacement. We've seen a couple of these over the past year and a half, Imperva and a few others that have gone back private.
There's a lot of companies that have come back from being private. Imperva, I think you mentioned. Some of that is due to the fact that they can't deal with the venture capital. Some of that is due to the fact that they lost a lot of value and it was easier to go private than elsewhere. But Forescout, I am honestly surprised that a pair of firms for just a 1.9 billion. I mean, does anybody know what their valuation was in terms of their revenue and everything?
Well, their stock did go down. It was at 30. So the private equity firm is paying $33 a share, which is a 30% premium over the closing price on October 19th of $25.45. Their all-time high was $39.87. So they went through kind of a drop in Q4 last year in their stock price. I don't know what their market cap was, at $1.57 billion. So, it's a decent valuation over their public number, but they definitely saw a dip before this acquisition happened.
Forescout's been around forever. I shouldn't say forever. It's been around for what, 15 years, 20 years? But I mean, how exciting is it as a company, as a product? Who uses it that you know of, for example, Matt? Do you know anybody using it?
I don't. I know they did. They did an interesting acquisition last year. They bought Security Matters on the operational technology side to integrate in. Forescout was kind of moving some of their capabilities, trying to move into the operational technology side, ICS, SCADA, et cetera. I think they were having some struggles. They bought Security Matters and brought that into the portfolio. Thought it was an interesting announcement. But I haven't seen a lot of these guys in the enterprise as of late. So to your point, Josh, I don't know where they are.
That's a good question. I mean, and the thing is, as a company that's pivoting, I mean, I don't know. So the question is, are they pivoting or are they simply adding capabilities? And I'm not sure. I think they're adding capabilities, but I think they're adding capabilities because potentially they've plateaued on their revenue. I don't know this for a fact. This is my guess, supposition, call it what you will.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that comes out of a specific security market niche has to find ways to grow. And there are a number of public companies that are going to face this in some form or fashion. I can rattle off a half a dozen of them, okay? they all have to figure out how to expand revenue. When you go into the public market, it's all about top line growth and earnings growth. And if you're not seeing that, you're struggling, right? And you can go look at the recent IPOs over the last couple of years and see who's going to do what to continue to expand their revenue growth. And when you have niche products, like I said, there's about a half a dozen of them sitting in the public market. Where do they go from here? I think Forescout was one of those. Where do they go next? They started to move into OT and try to open up those networks. Where else will they have to go to continue to grow? And others will have to face similar decisions.
And you wonder, I mean, you know, we talked about RSA being divested and spun off and split up and broken up. You wonder now that they've brought it private, are they going to do things like that with it? Are they going to let it have a little more freedom? Because when you're a public company, you're really beholden to the earnings calls. Mm-hmm. But if you're a private company, you can have a little bit more long-term vision, if you know what I mean.
Right. And
I wonder if they're going to let it grow, if they're going to divest it, break it up. This is fascinating. I wonder where it's going to go.
It'll be interesting. Insight Partners backed Sentinel One at a $200 million investment. Now, again, endpoint, right? It's like, how many more of these guys are there? Look at the investment going in there. But what's the exit path? Carbon Black went public, got bought by VMware. CrowdStrike had a really good IPO. I mean, all these endpoint vendors have to figure out kind of their exit point. And here you have Insight making a $200 million investment into Sentinel One. That's a lot of cash.
You know, it's interesting. I know who they said started it, but I will tell you that a good friend of mine, Jeremiah Grossman, was one of the first. His whole crew, who actually came out of White Hat Security, where I was their sales engineer for the one half of the country, they started Sentinel One. And it's fascinating to see that Jeremiah and most of his people have already left Sentinel One. They left it a couple of years ago, I think. And it's, you know, White Hat Security was a pen testing firm, automation of pen tests. And they just got acquired just a little while ago. Sentinel One was an automation of endpoint security. And I'm curious where he's going to go next. I don't even know where he is right now. I haven't talked to him in too long. I need to talk to you, Jer. Where are you, man? But I think that Sentinel One and all of the other endpoint companies, and you've got Carbon Black, you've got Sentinel One, you've got Fortinet doing stuff there, you've got everybody's doing stuff at the endpoint. And I wonder if people are investing in them so heavily because they see that endpoints are where it's all going. Let me explain what I mean. In compliance, we're talking about virtualized offices literally every day. And virtualized offices are a problem. You don't have any servers at the office. You've got a wireless router, 30 people with laptops. That's it. Can you do a pen test? On what? You know, can you do a compliance check? Where's all your data? You know, it's interesting. So the endpoints are all that's left in the offices these days. Everything is SaaS, O365, share files, blah, 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 blah. And so I wonder if these companies are thinking, hey, we just got to get at the endpoint. It's all that's left in the office. We can demo it well. We can show it well. And that's all the people are going to look at.
So this is where I step in and say something. So Matt, to your point on the last article, where do you go, right? Where do you go once you get funding? Sentinel One, their main goal with this kind of funding, right, is going to be acquisition, right? Acquisition towards the technical bottom line offering, right? When you're raising this kind of capital, there's only one play that you're going after. It's not bringing on R&D. It's not, trying to expand your reach through your own product offering. Oh, no. It takes a lot of cash to buy other companies, and that's what Sentinel One is gearing up to do.
Interesting.
Really so to your point, Josh, Jeremiah, I'm pretty sure he founded a company called Bit Discovery doing external digital risk discovery, right? Back to the conversation we're having around Cycognito. There's another announcement. Cybel Angel raises $36 million to protect enterprises from costly data leaks. They talk about themselves as a data risk management play, but really around data loss detection in the public space. What I found interesting was some of the investors that came in this round. Datadog's co-founder, Olivier Pommel, Renaud Darasson from Tenable, Black Duck's former CEO, Lou Shipley, there's some really interesting people that came into this Cyber Angels new investment round.
Well, risk management platform. I have a real hard time believing that anybody can manage risk and stop all of the breaches from any kind of platform, other than shutting it all off, right? So,
digital risk management. But it's the wrong term. See, they use these terms, and it's like, no. What they're really trying to do is data leak detection on the internet, right? And that's a more interesting term to me. If you go to their website, you'll see, you don't see it in the article actually, is where they're trying to look for data being leaked in the dark and in the public web. And, again, it sounds interesting. I was more intrigued by the investors of who was investing. They see something here. I need to dig into this company a little more.
So we're seeing more and more companies. I think there's 2 or 3 stories in your grouping today of companies that are out there for find your stuff on the internet and see where it came from. Yep. One of them is a dark web intelligence operation. One of them, Cyber Angel. The idea is, can I find what's out there that has been leaked from my company, about my company, near my company, whatever. And I think it's fascinating because realistically, it's not that hard to find information about your company. It's called Google, everybody. Let's be honest here. And OSINT reports are useful, but we teach OSINT, it's not that hard. And you want to talk dark web? Oh my God, the dark web! It's just about as easy. It takes a little work, takes a little getting into some of the forums and such, but it's not that hard. It's a matter of, honestly, it's more like old-fashioned cop legwork than anything else. It's not a technology thing. It's a service. So I find it fascinating that all these companies are getting investments of this caliber, if you will, for stuff that is actually like old school cop work.
Interesting.
Well, they're hedging their bet.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say they're hedging their bet that they're going to be able to do it better than Joe Cyber Schmo off the street.
Hey, what are you talking about? I'm no Joe Schmo. Come on, man.
Hey.
Forget about it.
Forgepoint Capital's made a couple interesting funding rounds this week before RSA as well. CyCiv, which is an enterprise SOC as a service company, and Huntress both got investments from Forgepoint Capital this week.
Well, I'll tell you, CyCiv I don't know, but Huntress I know very well. They came out of Mach 37 in Herndon, and I graduated from there in 2014. Enjoyed that really, really wonderfully. Dan Woolley and Rick Gordon and everybody were amazing. And Stratton was awesome. And I met Kyle Hanslevan there. He was actually the CEO of Huntress. He was actually also in the Maryland Air National Guard, I believe, which is a huge unit for Cyber Command. And of course, Cobalt Strike's Raf Mudge, was in the Delaware Air National Guard and part of the Cyber Command there. So they knew each other from there as well. Kyle, I thought, had a great product. Huntress is good people's, good stuff, good product, and just fantastic, devoted to their clients. They love it because they understand this whole concept of customer service, which, smart thing to do. So for them to get that kind of investment is great. I mean, they had some problems with investment earlier. Some early stage investors didn't want to take a haircut and screwed up a whole round of investment for them, I think. I won't name names because that's rude, but we'll have lunch sometime.
And then the last one I do want to touch on, and Vale raises $10 million, also in a funding round. I know this company, they came out, they're out of Data Tribe, which is Mike and Bob from Allegiance Capital, made a lot of investments there. I really like what they're doing. I'm a big data security fan. This is around homomorphic encryption. This is a funding round. I think this is great news for them because I really like what they're doing. A lot of this stuff came out of the Fort and stuff they were doing at NSA on how to be able to analyze data while it's encrypted, so you don't have to decrypt it to analyze the data. I really like this product, so I'm glad they got a funding round.
Have you played with it? I'm just curious because the homomorphic encryption market is fascinating, and I remain yet to be impressed by most of the products that have tried to do it. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played with it because I don't play with technology anymore. I get my hand smacked. That's for Paul to do, and I don't think Paul's done it yet. I've seen their presentations. I've talked to their CEO. She's brilliant. I mean, in like I said, a lot of this is what they were using in the federal government to be able to analyze intelligence data while it stayed encrypted. And so a lot of the techniques that our government uses to analyze this data in encrypted format is what is coming into this commercial product. I think it's an interesting area. It's a variation of homomorphic encryption. It's kind of I don't know how to describe it. It uses the capabilities of homomorphic encryption, but it's not like hardcore homomorphic encryption because that's like the nirvana state for data encryption. We're not there. So it's a variation of that, but it allows them to analyze data in its encrypted way, but be able to run analytics on it and extract out the data you want. So I'm just intrigued by the whole data security space and where this is going to go.
It's fascinating stuff.
Yes. All right, gentlemen, thank you for the news segment. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to turn it over to Scott and Josh to discuss their CTF at InfoSec World 2020.